crashes has doubled in the last 2 decades. Here in the Valley, a crash last January left 2 people dead. 32-year-old Jason Long, a flight instructor, and his student, 19-year-old Jacob Kaiser, were both killed when a medical helicopter collided with their plane. The helicopter's crew of 3 managed to land safely. The National Transportation and Safety Board is still investigating the accident. They say the mountains and hills in the valley can cause aircraft to disappear from radar, making it hard to know how much air traffic was in the area at the time of the crash. Because of that, flying here in the valley can be more difficult than in other areas.
Once again, here's Janelle Lilly with some of the dangers flight crews face every day while trying to keep the injured safe.
There's no oil leaking, no oil on the deck.
The morning check of the medical helicopter Air Care 5.
Parts are attached. We check in here, we call this the squirrel cage.
Pilot Scott Hake thoroughly inspects every part of the chopper, making sure it's safe to take to the skies.
My job is to ensure that everything we do meets or exceeds all of our safety standards. And that's the toughest part of the job, I think.
This crew responds to the valley's emergencies and can get there in 15 minutes or less. Flight nurse Jim Miller's been flying off to the rescue for 6 years.
In our training, we are expected to be able to handle just about everything that you can be thrown at us.
But much of what's thrown at him isn't medical. In addition to treating the patient, flight nurses also have the responsibility to help keep the flight safe.
The hardest part of this job is not the medical patient care, it's actually learning how to keep an eye out for everything else and just how to work in a very small environment that's moving very fast.
Moving fast because a second lost could mean a life lost. But despite the pressure, Hake says the crew can't rush into an emergency because hurrying safety could lead to a bigger disaster in the skies.
In addition to the safety checks they perform each day, one of the most important aspects of staying safe in the skies, keeping an eye on the weather.
You do have to take extra precautions. When you fly in the mountains, the winds are a little different. The weather changes very quickly. The weather can be much more severe.
And then there's the mountains themselves. Because of the danger, the chopper never crosses the ridgeline straight on.
5 miles to the southwest inbound.
Several helicopter crashes in the last decade have been related to weather and difficult terrain, with pilots struggling to maintain visual contact with the ground in dark skies.
The weather is good enough where I can see the ground.
Because of this, the National Transportation Safety Board has recommended that medical helicopters equip themselves with new technology.
In the past several years, we've had several accidents where the FAA feels that a terrain awareness warning system and IFR, night vision goggles, would have been helpful. And the FAA is in the process of looking at requiring certain instrumentation.
Air Care 5 already has those instruments on board, something the company did to promote safety. But in the end, Hake says good judgment is more important than a good instrument.
So with all the technology that we have, still the most critical element in this equation is the human element.
And despite the inherent dangers of this job, the crew says the reward is worth the risk.
The risks that we take really are not things that we can't manage. Those risks are managed every day. We take great care to do that, and I think having said that, it's well worth the effort.
In Weir's Cave, Janelle Lilly, WHSV News 3.